very important elements in the police function in this country are, firstly, that we must never, in any circumstances, appear to be the tool of government or the tool of any political party. And secondly, I believe that in all disputes, whether they arise from politics or industry, I think we also must be clearly seen to be impartial. And as a policeman, I don't think that what we call crimes of violence, though they naturally give rise to a great deal of heart-searching and regret, I don't think that they are anything like as severe a threat to the maintenance of tranquility in this country as the tendency of people to use violence to achieve political or industrial ends. Now, as far as I'm concerned, as a policeman of many, many years of experience, that's the worst crime in the book. I think it's even worse than murder.
At one point, Britain was making 4 times as much profit out of one Caribbean island, which is sugar production, as it did out of all its trade with the rest of the world. So that was the level of profits that black people were generating into Britain. And it was only at this level of super profit that allowed the period is called the period of primitive accumulation. So there's so much money being made out of black people that the factory system could be paid for, the new kinds of machinery could be paid for, the new sort of production that brought into the world factory production, the new line system that expanded the world's economy to a degree that was unimaginable.
One of the things we have to remember about Britain today is that it's not so great anymore. Its empire has been taken away, and the economy is technically bankrupt. All that wealth that was accumulated here is basically gone, consumed, dispersed. The predicament of blacks highlights the inability of British capitalism to deliver the goods. In some of Britain's major cities, places like Manchester and Birmingham and London, official government statistics show that up to 80% of black youths between the ages of 16 and 19 are unable to find work and have no visible prospect of finding full-time employment. Now, significant numbers of these youths have turned to what is called street crime. They take what they're not given. They capture, in their own terms, in order to survive. In some cases, their resistance has led them to take on the monopoly might of the state itself, as, for example, in the case of Notting Hill Gate Carnival in London in 1976 and 1977, where there were pitched battles for the streets between the police and black youths. Now, it is impossible to pretend that this response of black youth is simply criminal activity. It becomes increasingly political.
The Spaghetti House siege of 1975, when 3 West Indian youth held up the Spaghetti House with guns for the first time that there had been such a siege in this country. It was very, very significant because one of them, Wesley Dick, used to be a voluntary worker here in the Institute of Race Relations. He used to help on the telephone and with Race Today. And the second person, Tony Monroe, was on the eve of going to Nigeria, I believe, on a medical scholarship.
Today's events confirm our original belief that this was an ordinary armed robbery with no racial or political connotations.
It has been, I mean, the press had tried to make out that this was part of the lumpen, spontaneous combustion element in the black community. Not so. And they were not irresponsible people in the sense that society understands it. They were responsive. I remember Wesley coming into the institute one day. He had been to a dance the previous night, and he was absolutely head up, and it was like an incubus on his brain. He said that a policeman had kicked a pregnant sister. And there was murder in his eyes. So it was not, however mistaken the siege might have been, how mistaken it was to be able to, I mean, you know, what they said was that they want to get monies to service the black community, the struggles of the black community. That is why they held up the Spaghetti House. They didn't want to thieve Spaghetti House for their own pockets, to line their own pockets. What motivated them was the impossibility of living in this society with any sort of dignity, with any sort of family life, and be marked out as a section of the community which was totally undesirable, unwanted, rejected. That is the significance of the Spaghetti House siege. And that is only a part and parcel of the things that black youth have been saying. They have been saying, in effect, they may not articulate it in these terms, they have been saying, in effect, look, you want to reproduce the sub-proletariat that you imported into this country in our father's time. You now want to reproduce that same sub-proletariat and make us do the shit work that our parents did. And all that we can say to you is get stuffed. Fuck you. We're not going to do it. People have hard work.
Before October 1977, 2 young girls, black girls, had been apprehended by security guards and police officers and maltreated on suspicion of shoplifting. In particular, in October, a young girl went into the Boots chemist's shop in the precinct and was apprehended by the security guards and police, and was seen by the public to be punched, hair pulled, and so on, maltreated, and was accused of having shoplifted inside of Boots the chemist. One day later, a large group of youths, perhaps 20 to 30 youths, turned up in the Moss Side precinct at the Boots chemist. They posted a guard, and they went into the Boots chemist, and they wrecked the joint completely. They attacked the security guard and the cashier, and they split. It was what one local newspaper, black newspaper, Bradford Black newspaper, is called a military operation.
Oh, goodness, my dear.
Alex, touch wide, touch. Alex. If a man robbed 1,500 pounds, I say power to him. And the police grab him, I move to defend. Right? To me, it's not a case of guilty or not guilty. Yeah? It's whether we win or whether we don't. Right? On this, the police made a cock-up. They ain't got no friggin' evidence. No evidence whatsoever. So we're going to fight it on that level. But in our hearts, we ain't fighting it because, well, Tony or Jeffrey innocent. Huh? We're fighting it because they're black, and they're black youths, and we know we engage in a war. Tony, Jeffrey, Franklin, and Mark, when he gets sentenced, are prisoners of war. Because we have to take. We're unemployed, we ain't got. A lot of rich people got. And when we take, then they send down the law and the police and say you shouldn't take and so forth. Well, we have to get them out. It ain't for anybody in this room thinking about whether they're guilty or whether they're not guilty. I say they go somewhere else and think about it. That isn't the question. The question is they got 3 black youths, 3 of you. That means you're 3 short. Yeah? And the question is we get them out. And it's also the question of mounting some pressure on the arse of the police. Because they're taking a whole heap of friggin' liberties with you. Like Mrs. Ramsey said, they don't come pick up sheep. They come pick up you. And why they pick up you? Why? 1, because you're black. 2, because you ain't conforming. You ain't behaving how they like you to behave. You ain't running after job. Yeah? I see a whole heap of you wearing your Tams. They don't like it. Because you're trying to make out like you're different. Right? And they don't like difference. And when a policeman step on one of your foot, you step back. They say you're too uppity.
Yeah.
You won't sit down and take it like they want you to take it. You won't stay in your place. Yeah? That's why they're gunning for you. And Mrs. Ramsey and Desna. Well, Mrs. Ramsey's unique. But no, wrong. She's not unique. But she's one of an older generation. And I would have liked more parents to be here tonight. Because they care. They care. They show it in a different way, but they care. And the question, huh? If more and more you are not going to end up inside, is whether we can get some power, yeah, to get the pigs off our back.